call to order the ACSD board meeting for Monday.
Recording in progress.
Let me start over. I'd like to call to order the ACSD board meeting for today, Monday, September 23rd at 6:31 p.m. First, I would like us to introduce ourselves, and I'm going to start with Jason.
Jason Jones.
Joanna Doria.
Mary Heather Noble.
Chip Malcolm.
Trisha Allen.
Jamie McCallum.
Wendy Baker.
Barbara Wilson.
Laura Hartman. Helen Wheeling. Suzanne Buck.
Steve Orzek.
Brian Fowler.
Ellie Rock.
And on Zoom, we have a couple admin.
Matt Carenti, Director of Finance and Operations.
And Courtney, you can go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
She gets back.
She might be getting a cup of coffee.
Okay, it's all good. It's all good.
She's been outed.
Next, I would like a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll move to adopt the agenda as printed. A
Second. If there's no objection, the agenda is approved as warned. Moving on, now is our time for public comments. Public comments are encouraged and welcome at each of our regular board meetings during this particular period. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. And citizens will be called on to make their statements by myself. Public comments regarding personnel, students, or legal matters are confidential and will not be heard by the board in public session here. Is there anyone in the audience or on Zoom that would like to make a public comment? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Willard Cox. I live in Ripton, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak. I also want to thank you for doing this service that you do for the community. Hard work, it's time consuming, does not pay well. So I really, you have my gratitude. I want to talk about Ripton School and the fact that, to me, over time, I feel like the school is being emptied out. So an example is when Act 46 was passed and consolidation came in. Before that, we had a pre-K program. It was a program, excuse me, that we had supported for many years in Ripton when we had our own school board. But very shortly after consolidation, that pre-K program was taken out of the budget. It just disappeared. And then not too long ago, there was the 6th grade move to Mounds, which I agreed with. I thought it was a good idea. But yet, there was another class emptied out of Ripton. And then recently, there's been talk about moving the K1 class to a different school. Yet again, another emptying out. So it gives me anxiety because what I'm thinking is that if the emptying out continues, it will be a way to close our school because it will be empty. And so I'm here tonight to ask you to place a moratorium on any school closings for the next 2 years. You've done this before, and when that was done, it sort of gave everybody breathing room and allowed everybody to move on to other matters, educational matters, that were very important to deal with. I also would like to ask that you resist moving any other classes out of small schools to other schools for at least a period of 2 years. Thank you very much.
Anyone else care to
Tammy Johnson, school counselor at Cornwall, Salisbury, and Ripton, but I'm speaking on behalf of Ripton tonight. So thank you to the board members who allowed us all a week to pause to better understand the recent events at Ripton School. I think things are moving in a better direction, but I still felt compelled to speak. As a school and mental health counselor for over 25 years, I've come to understand that change can be difficult for many of us, including children. And since the kindergartner, first and second graders from Ripton can't be here tonight to advocate for themselves, I'm advocating for them and asking you to consider their welfare as you make decisions on their behalf tonight. I've seen these students in their classroom and they're happy and they feel cared for. They have a sense of emotional safety. These students have been learning new skills every day in their multi-grade classroom, and the second graders have been proud to serve as leaders for the younger students. I want you to consider that whatever changes you might make tonight as a board will impact them for the rest of their lives. The kindergarten, first, and second graders want to stay at Ripton School, and their parents want them to stay there. If you think at any time that any of the students at the school in general need to transition to another ACSD school, I ask you that you do that in a planned and thoughtful manner so that their parents and the school professionals can support them in this transition and help them feel that this change is in their best interest. The removal of children from a school where they have spent the last month, or in some cases a year and 1 month, coming together as a community, I don't think is in their best interest. A Ripton third grader, after hearing from his parents about the possible changes for the kindergarten students at Ripton School being proposed by this board, wisely asked, why would they move them someplace else now when they just got used to being here? And I would not know how to answer that question honestly if it was asked of me. Lastly, I'd like to remind the board about something I mentioned last Monday. Every year for the past 6 years that I've worked at Ripton School, there has been at least one student who has come to that school after struggling emotionally, behaviorally, and academically in a different public school or at a specialized therapeutic school that was out of the district. All of these students have been successful at Ripton School. And not only has these helped the students to feel a sense of belonging and to positively impact the trajectory of their lives, it has also saved our district a lot of money. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Go ahead.
Michelle Fay, Ripton. I'm here tonight to voice my concerns about the present situation at the Ripton Elementary School, which includes the resignation of an elementary teacher and principal. As a Ripton resident and retired elementary educator, I have strong feelings for the survival of our very special community school. Coming from a background of teaching in several schools within the district and within the county, including a school with a combined grade K-1-2 classroom, I have faith that all the children at Ripton Elementary are receiving a unique and rich education. I've recently subbed in several different ACSD schools, including Ripton, and have witnessed strong learning and enrichment opportunities for all students, provided by dedicated educators. I'm also aware that since the district recently chose to transfer some students from Mary Hogan to Ripton Elementary, this is an indication that there is a recognition by the district of the positive attributes that Ripton Elementary offers. I am asking the ACSD school board to place a moratorium on closing any schools within the district for a time period of at least 2 years. In Ripton, we have already lost our enrollment of preschool age children when the district decided to do away with the preschool, and then lost our 6th graders due to district reconfiguration. Small schools need time and space to ensure that their children can continue to learn and grow in their own communities with the support of those community members who value their local schools so greatly. Please consider putting a 2-year hold on closing schools in the district in order to give schools the time and space that they need and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go over to those online, and then I'll come back in case someone wants to speak in the room. Could you read the name, Jason?
Sierra Thornton. Go ahead,
Thank you. Go ahead. Sierra? Can you hear us? We can't hear you. We cannot hear you if you're speaking. Okay. If there is someone else in the room that would like to speak, go ahead, and then,
Liam Batches, Greenwood, special educator primarily at Ripton, but also this year, one day at Mary Hogan to help out there. I love that this year we began by a focus on we all belong. That's a beautiful sentiment, but hard work. I really thank the teachers, administrators, new superintendent for doing some of that work when we were in conflict within our community. We leaned into trying to make sure every voice was heard and different people were acknowledged. I would love to see us continue to lean into that work in a way that builds trust and also builds creativity. I have bounced around in life, and most recently been bounced around here in ACSD. 6 years, 6 different principals. At MUMS, 3 years, principals on a kind of a revolving door. Then Shoreham, said goodbye to that principal just at the end of the school year. At Ripton, I'm like, can I please just have some stability? Just a place to belong, just a little stability. And boom, this happens. How can we do the work of helping people feel like they belong, helping children feel like they belong, when staff, members of the community, are barely feeling like they belong? Only through stability, only through careful listening, and creative ways of building on individual strengths, the strengths of different communities, the strengths of small or big schools. Mary Hogan is not one size fits all. It's a great place for many kids, but some kids would benefit from a smaller setting. We're Vermonters. We like small towns and little tiny towns. Was that a town that we just went through? Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a town. That we're Vermonters. Why wouldn't we want that for our children too? A small sense of community. So let's continue to lean into we all belong. We all belong in ways that Vermonters belong, in their own way.
thank you. Okay, Sierra, we're gonna move you over again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can.
Awesome. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Thank you for taking the time for listening and to let us speak out about our opinions. I am Sierra Thornton, and I am in my 4th year of teaching PE at Ripton. I'm also located at 2 other elementary schools in the district. I'm not a person that really enjoys speaking about my opinions, but I feel this topic surrounding Ripton is one that would benefit by hearing from different perspectives. During my first year of teaching, I was part-time physical educator at 2 schools and part-time para at Ripton. Immediately entering Ripton, I could feel the support from the staff and had the chance to witness firsthand lead teachers instructing and educating students. Ripton emulates a feeling of home and comfort. I'm only there 2 days a week now that I'm a full-time physical educator, but I can still feel that warmth and unity. I can only imagine how immense the unity must feel to the students when they get to be present all 5 days of the week. I've seen students in all classrooms go from shy and in their shell to building confidence and making connections with others, which aided them in letting their personality shine through. I especially see this in the K2 class when I get to see them on their PE days. Ripton has a way of connecting with their students and making them feel like a family. It would be a real disservice to the ACSD community to remove K1 from Ripton. I strongly believe students who need additional support, whether it is academic support or emotional support, Ripton uses all the resources available, including staff members that step in when needed and work together to support the students. It truly does take a village. I can honestly say the environment in the classroom, specifically K-2 classroom this year, has been nothing but welcoming and supportive of student learning. Speaking specifically from my point of view being their PE teacher, the K-2 class works incredibly well. Second graders have opportunities to advance their skills during our activities and share their learning with the younger students. This gives the second graders an opportunity to be the leader in their class and build confidence and responsibility. This also allows K1 to have good role models to look up to and encourages them to try new skills and understand that learning new skills can be hard. K1 has the opportunity to observe their classmates and practice skills and know what to do when they feel frustrated by looking up to the second graders. I feel as though this combination works well specific to Ripton because of the class size. There's no student left behind. Listening to the options that stand before us, I see that everyone wants what's best for the students. What's best for the students is where we disagree. Keeping these students in an environment where they're already comfortable and welcomed, I believe, is the best option, especially when we have the resources and staff to support this combination for students for this school year. If the board agrees K1-2 combination isn't working, I really hope we can find another solution that supports keeping our students at Ripton and keeping our family together. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone, okay, go ahead.
I want to pick up on a comment that Brian made 2 weeks ago, because I think it needs to be there. The ACSD
I'm
should
sorry.
change its policy.
Can you?
Do you mind just
Oh.
stating your name for the
Okay,
for the record?
Can I?
Just say your name.
Just say your name and your,
McLaughlin, Middlebury.
thanks you.
I believe that the ACSD should change its policy for providing in-school preschool to a more equitable, and we're facing current funding challenges for next year. So the current practice is of 25 slots in preschool program at Mary Hogan and 15 at Bridport for residents of hosting towns is an anachronism. I agree with Brian that the limitation of this benefits to children residing in those host towns should be eliminated from ACSD policies. For your information, in fiscal 2023, which is the latest data on the Agency of Education dashboard, there were additional 129 children receiving preschool subsidies for care not in the 2 public elementary schools. So there are parents who work and need coverage more than the in-school programs. One of my plumbers is a person like that. So I want to point out that we are providing more than just those 40 slots. However, just increasing the in-school pre-K demand by allowing more people from other towns without increasing supply, in my view, is a hollow gesture. 2 years ago, the Bridport principal at a board meeting told me that there was an unmet need in Shoreham and Bridport that was double the current 15 slots for families out there who could take advantage of the in-school operation. So my recommendation is that in next year's budget, a pre-K teacher be hired for a second classroom west of Otter Creek. So that there, and I defer to the ACSD staff to choose the location. My sense from 2-year-old socioeconomic data, again from the Agency of Education, is that Shoreham would be a great location if we can identify a pre-K classroom serving up to 15 students. If Shoreham is unable to identify a suitable classroom, then a second classroom at Bridport would have the shortest commute times for parents along the 22A corridor. So I believe this is low-hanging fruit, and I think it would show that the board members are focused on representing the interests of all students, all children rather, in the ACSD district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Whoops, sorry. I'll let you be the timer.
There's
Go
a
ahead.
hand back there.
Yep, Steve?
Steve Cash from Ripton. Just wanted to say thank you all of you for being here. I know some of you are parents and obviously have other things to do, so thank you for your service. I'm kind of going to break mine into two. Just want to provide an update on, some of what I've seen going on in Ripton in the past week since I was last here. So first off, there was a meeting between teachers, staff, and parents in the K2 classroom that I believe was organized by a teacher. With less than about 16 hours of notice, parents who represented just over 85% of the students in that classroom showed up for an 8 a.m. meeting. So there was a really good turnout. During that meeting, there was a productive dialogue of both sides, staff, teachers, parents. And I think everybody left that meeting in general in better space. It was a very productive opportunity. When my son goes to second grade tomorrow in that classroom, I do not think there's an emergency in his classroom. It's not my decision to make, that's my perspective. I don't think there's a need to remove kids from that classroom. Certainly there's more repair work to be done. Can't have a couple of meetings and make things go away that were pretty hurtful. So there's more work to be done. That's my perspective on that. If you step 1 minute, 19 seconds. The second part of my comment is that the superintendent, when he reached out to me to start to establish a community dialogue with Ripton. And that was a really positive gesture. I think one thing that I've heard throughout everything I've done with Ripton School is, it hasn't been future facing. And it was refreshing because this was a conversation of, there are challenges on the, horizon. Certainly, everyone knows what they are in education. What can Ripton do? How can Ripton be a part of the district? What can the community bring to the table to be a part of it? The details and actions that are going to follow that meeting, I don't know what they are exactly, but I'm hopeful it can be a good foundation. And it was really interesting at that meeting. There was 2 of us who were on the Ripton School Board when we were through, and then there was 4 current and past educators. We probably had over 100 years of educational experience there. It was pretty impressive. But one of the people there said that, it's been challenging throughout these conversations because every time we talk about the future of Ripton, it's about what's going to get taken away. And I don't remember, somebody else said something about taking stuff away. And I hope that the dialogue we had the other day can serve as a foundation to approach some of the challenges going forward in a different way. So it's 2 minutes 47. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for timing. Anyone else in the room or on Zoom that would like to make a public comment? Go ahead.
Hi, Mary Slozar. I'm going to start my timer. One thing I was not here last week, but I was able to watch the meeting, as riveting as it was online. And one thing that there was a lot of talk about a crisis and an emergency. And one thing that I feel compelled to share from my perspective as a parent and community member is that the reason for that crisis and emergency is not that there was a 1-2-3 classroom or a K-1-2 classroom. That was not the reason. The reason was because there was no partnership with the community. There was very poor communication between leadership and parents. And that led to a breakdown in trust and collaboration, which all of our schools depend on, no matter the size. And part of what has led to things working out or seeming to work out at Ripton is a lot of people digging deep and doing the repair work and doing that communication. And I just hope that that is a lesson for all of us in this experiment of educating our children. I also want to just acknowledge that I know it was tough and controversial for this board to make the decision to wait on any action last week, but I think it was the right call. I was really floored that people were so quick to want to take action that would have devastated a school, so many children, so many families, and probably for the future, without having full information really about what was going on with staff who may have been resigning or not, and all kinds of things. So I hope that that kind of pause can happen in the future, and I want to applaud you all for taking that risk. I also want to, I feel like it's important to call out, I'm at 150 if anybody's wondering, that this conversation, the action, and the types of things that were being proposed last week are not happening in a vacuum. Onlookers of what this school board is up to and the administrators and discussions that are happening, we've heard the mention of other strategies in other school districts that empty schools before closing them. All these things have been said. And the proposals that have been put out there are all in line with those other things that have been brought up in other contexts. And I raise that because it's important that we not, it doesn't feel like a lot of trust and a lot of respect for your observers to pretend like a lot of this is all just in one little isolated event, because there really are connections and it makes sense. But have enough respect for your community members to have that conversation in a very explicit and honest way. I'll leave it there. I'll leave my rest for my later public.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom or in the room who would like to make a public comment? Oh, we do have one.
Yes,
John Wetzel. John Wetzel. Okay. John, go ahead.
Hi. John Wetzel from Ripon as well. I was there last week as well. I just want to say, thank you to not rushing into, in my opinion, rushing into making a decision without knowing, enough, just a quick decision without knowing necessarily all the details. And I really hope that the details and the current status of where we're at are looked at before anything is voted on, making any major extreme change to the Ripon school as far as moving K-1-2 or moving any grades in that matter. And I support all of what has been said by other Ripon residents, and I think it's important to note that it's not just Ripon residents speaking or parents speaking, but also people who are there every day with the students who are saying how good this is. And this is not a failing school. This school is functioning and it's working and it's going through hardships at times and changes at times, but that it has the support behind it of the people who are there every day and the people who are around it every day. And I think that that's important to success in anything. And just a quick note, like anytime any decisions are rushed, that's when mistakes are made. And that's when, that's a common thing, like, oh, you must do this now. It's what car salesmen do. Nothing against if there's any car salesmen in the room, but they don't want you to leave. They want you to make a decision right away. And it's important to know, to take the time and to consider consequences for actions, maybe beyond, what you think. So that's all I ask to continue with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room or on Zoom? Go ahead.
Samantha Eisenberger Ripton. I just actually want to make one comment because not many have been made in regard to Meg Chestnut, the C. My experience of her, witnessing her, was she was incredibly gifted working with the kids. And so I just want to offer gratitude for her and her showing up at Ripton as she did, what she offered our children. I'm just very grateful. I still don't really know what all happened and why we're in this situation, but I just wanted to offer that. She has a true gift with children, and even though she might have more challenges communicating with adults, we have her there to work with our kids, and it has been amazing. So I just want to thank her for that.
Thank you. Any other comments in the room or on Zoom? Go ahead.
Chris Gilbo, I'm also at Ripton. I'm a parent of the second grader there. My wife and I recently moved to Ripton last summer, and she followed the Ripton Elementary online for a year before we came here. Our child was very apprehensive about being at school. We came from Austin, Texas. He had a really hard time there. Would cry every day we dropped him off, didn't want to go. They had uniforms. One day he cut his uniform thinking that would keep him from needing to go. Now that he's at Ripton, he runs to school every day. He loves it there. He feels included. He feels accepted. He has friends. For a parent, it's just pulls at your heartstrings to see that happen and to know that that can be possible for your son. A lot of that has to do with the faculty and the staff and people helping him to connect, as well as the other parents there that just have such a tight community and that value. And all I wanted to say was that I believe there was lots of apprehension from the meeting last week that, oh, if we leave things the way they are with the K1 and 2 classroom, that we'll be right back in this meeting in a few weeks trying to figure things out. And I wanted to say, as someone who watched the meeting last week, who was at the meeting this week with the teachers and everything, that I felt that there was an overwhelming sense of unity among the parents, that we were behind this idea of keeping people where they're at and just sticking it out and working together to make this thing happen. And so I just wanted to give a parent's perspective, and from someone who's kind of been in the mix and everything, to maybe put some of those fears at ease, that I think there is a lot of unity, I think, right now with going forward, keeping people where they're at and keeping forward with the way things are. So that's all.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone on Zoom, please raise your hand, or in the room. Okay, I'm pausing here. I don't see any, so I think I'm assuming there's no more. So I just want to take this moment to thank everyone for coming out this evening and giving us public comments and feedback. It's really appreciated. Thank you so much. And so what I'd like to do is move on to the next agenda item, which is a recommendation to approve the minutes of 9/16. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any comments?
I'll just, Brian emailed me today just about something he wanted to raise in the minutes. There was something, and I'll just bring it up because he called it to my attention. There was something I mentioned last time in relation to the discussion around conflict of interest policy that was not recorded in the minutes, having to do with the conflict of interest policy being primarily dedicated around financial or economic stuff. And he called to my attention that he thought that was, I don't know, what do you want to say, Brian?
It should have been included.
Should have been included. So I'll just bring that up. Thanks for calling it to my attention, Brian, and that's it.
Mary Heather?
Just in response to that, that was not the policy that was cited.
Yeah,
The conflict of interest policy was not the policy that was cited.
Right, it's
It was A5.
the A5, which
Code of
is
conduct.
code of conduct. Yeah.
I heard Barb say conflict of interest before you mentioned A5.
Absolutely.
I thought we were talking about
Yeah,
last
I
time.
misspoke. I
Oh.
meant to say,
The policy I read from was A5.
I meant to
Code of
say it's
conduct.
code of conduct.
Got
Any other corrections? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions?
I'll abstain, Mary Heather.
Okay. Next is approving the ACSD bills. I'm going to turn it over to Chip.
There are none.
There are none. Is this a first?
Well, we just met last
I
week.
know. But still, I think it's a first.
There are always bills.
I know. Moving forward then, we have the report of our student representatives. So I'll let you guys share what you'd like to.
Okay, so for like school engagement, this week is Spirit Week, homecoming week. Our homecoming theme is Wizard of Oz. So we have Spirit Days every day this week, which is just like dress up days. So today was Green and Bling, which is something to do with Wizard of Oz. And Twister Tuesday, I think, which is like wacky. So anyway, and it's really fun because it just brings the school community together, and I think it introduces the freshmen to like, I don't know, homecoming tradition and stuff. So our football game is on Friday and our dance is on Saturday. So that'll be really great. And then the clubs they seem to be pretty much back in motion. SCORE has regular meetings now on Fridays, and I know that Model UN, I think they meet Mondays or Tuesdays. So
Excellent. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start with some positives.
Okay.
So today we had our senior class photo. We made like a little 25 out of people on the football field, and that was really fun and interesting. It took a long time. So along with NAVA and clubs, MUHS Hope Happens Here, which I happen to be on the board of, we met today, and we used to use these little, if you don't know what Hope Happens Here, is a mental health awareness club. So we used to use these little cards that people would pick up, but they didn't really pick it up. So we're transitioning out of those and making a website. So be on the lookout for a website in the next couple weeks because we're going to be using that instead. And Bread Loaf Day. So we did Bread Loaf Day, which is what the peer leaders do for the 9th graders when they're transitioning into high school. We take them out for the day out of school, which they love. And we take them to any sort of site. For my year, they took us to, I think it's Common Ground. And we do a bunch of team building activities, and it's catered, and it's tradition for peer leaders to make desserts for the 9th graders when they're made. Yeah, so that was really fun, and that happened. But okay, there's one thing. I've heard like some things just from like friends or teachers that they really want AC in the building, and I know that's been a thing for like ever. So, there's just like that, but yeah, that's it.
It's very hot sometimes in places and very cold.
Particularly in the 3rd floor, like apparently people get like headaches, and
Right.
that can just like.
Then the comments are cold.
The basement too.
It's just like weird heat and cold levels. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Does any of the board members have any questions for our student reps? Well, thank you so much for reporting out. That's important information, so we're definitely listening. Next, we have scheduled a two-purpose executive session. One is personnel related and the other one is labor negotiations related. The first one is per VSA, 1 VSA 313A3, and the latter, the negotiations, is per 1 VSA 313A1. And since all the board members are here, we don't have to do a link to bring anyone on. So what I'm going to have to ask is during this period of time, that the public needs to leave the room, the Zooming, the MCTV needs to stop. And once we exit, and Mr. Flowers, of course, as well. And then
Online.
and online. So we will, yes?
If I'm gonna cast the documents for the exec session, then we would need a.
Okay, so we will need to bring you in. Okay, so Jason's gonna help me with that. So we will turn down the Zoom temporarily and then come back to the Zoom link. So I just wanted to let folks know that. And then I need a motion for us to go into executive session.
We'll also need to stop recording.
And yes, that's what I said.
I'd like to move that we go into executive session for personnel-related issues per Personnel 1 VSA 313A3 and labor negotiations per 1 VSA 313A1.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Can I
Yeah.
discuss something?
Yeah.
folks who are on Zoom, they will reconnect to the same Zoom meeting, correct?
I believe so. They may have to go into the link again if we actually shut it down, but it will be the same link. Yeah.
Yes, we should shut it down.
So if we,
You have to.
you'll need to create a new one for Matt.
For Matt
Yeah.
only, but, and which can be a meeting.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a webinar.
I'll come back out whenever we're done.
Well, I was just gonna ask, do you have any approximate time to tell people?
We've identified on the agenda about 20 minutes.
Somebody will come and get you.
I told them I'd come in, I'll make up for the Zoom.